It is the Friday edition of the Morning Buzz. Welcome to the show, everybody. In case you did not know, my name is Ryan Trick, and today is Friday, May 8th. It's going to be a good show today. I'm feeling it. I have my tea. I don't have my New Jersey mug today. I have my San Francisco mug, but I think we can get it done anyways. Sadly, Kai could not make it today. Finals. She is just like she sent me a picture. She's literally swimming through just stacks and stacks of homework. I don't even know how she got that much printer paper into her house, but nonetheless, because she could not make it today, I am joined by Kyle Pepitone, who was on last week, and co-hosting with
Amanda Marino.
Amanda.
The
It's the
person you've been
Monday Buzz
seeing.
takeover.
Yeah, right. The person
We're
you've been seeing
gonna
all and hearing all week this week.
Exactly. We're slowly, you and me, Amanda, we're
We're
slowly
just taking
taking
over
over
the
the rest
show.
of the
Yeah.
days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Annabella, but you can't stop it.
You
If
can't get
people
rid of
keep
us.
calling out, we'll keep showing up. What are you going
Yeah.
to do? Well, anyways, again, because Kaya isn't here today and she has a tradition of enlightening us with what to celebrate on every day, because every day is National Something Day, I decided to carry on the tradition without her. That said, we have a couple of national holidays today before we kick off the show. For all those pie lovers out there, like myself, feel free to treat yourself to a slice or two of coconut cream pie today, because it's National Coconut Cream Pie Day. I don't know why. Don't ask. And if you're feeling
No,
thirsty
I think the
after all
best
that
was the
pie,
reaction of Kyle because I think Kyle really wanted a piece
oh
of
yeah,
coconut
That
cream.
is like the only type of pie I will eat.
it's so good.
That's
It is.
funny.
If you're thirsty after eating coconut cream pie for some reason, you can wash it down with either water like a normal person or with an ice cold Coca-Cola, because it's also like National Have a Coke Day. I don't know who comes up with this stuff, but I swear, if for all of you interested, you can find all this on nationaldaycalendar.com. I don't understand it. Um, Now, the one holiday I do believe we can all get behind at times like this is it is National Student Nurse Day as well. Right now, we all know nurses are working day and night all around the world to fight COVID 19, and many students are being inspired to follow in their footsteps and dedicate their education to, well, follow in their footsteps and become nurses. So, to all the nurses out there working on saving the world and all the people who are trying to follow them, this day is for you. So happy National Student Nurse Day. Now, again, all those national holidays were found on nationalholidaycalendar.com or nationaldaycalendar.com. But we can't talk about holidays all day, can we? There's not enough holidays, as many as there are. We do need to kick off the show. So, Kyle, what's going on in the world, man?
All right,
Kick it
well,
off.
let's see. According to NBC, children have begun to develop an illness suspected to be linked to the coronavirus. The recently named pediatric multisystem inflammatory syndrome has been found in at least 85 children across the United States. The syndrome can cause high fevers and red eyes, but can also cause issues with the heart. There have been no related deaths within the country, as the syndrome is a rare case among children. The BBC reports worldwide that Professor Jae-Hyun Elgin and colleagues of Columbia University have been analyzing many countries in their response to the COVID outbreak. Results from the analysis show that Malta and Japan have the two most financially aggressive responses for their bailout plan. On the other hand, developing countries have responses set in place but require money in order to put them into action. And finally, in the state of New Jersey, NJ.com says that Governor Murphy plans to open New Jersey beaches with restrictions by Memorial Day. New Jersey's governor told NJTV, quote, "I will be shocked if our beaches are not open, but with very specific guidance, just as we opened county and state parks," end quote. However, in the case of non-essential businesses, Governor Murphy said curbside pickup is a major possibility in the coming weeks. And for the weather, in the non-existent part of Central Jersey, we have a high of 55 today and a low of 33 degrees. So it's a bit colder than the rest of the week has been. There's also a chance of rain all day starting at 11 o'clock, which is very unfortunate for me because we just got a new fire pit and we won't be able to use it. We have a sunset at 8 p.m., a 40% chance of rain, as I said, and 3 mile per hour wind.
Kyle, despite the weather forecast that you just gave, I got to tell you, you are much luckier than I am because where I am around Bernardsville, Basking Ridge area, it is 48 degrees right now with
Oof.
a 90% chance of rain.
Yikes.
So it is going to be a definite rain shower for me. My dad and I literally just cleaned off the grill earlier this week, and
Well,
sadly, I
did-
don't think we'll be able to use it.
I did want to note that also in the non-essential, not existing Central Jersey, it is also 50 degrees in my area. So, and there's rain at 11 a.m. So, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? This weather has been nuts lately, but thankfully, we're all inside anyways.
There you
Always got to
go.
find the
Very
bright side in quarantine. So, as I said earlier, it's always National Something Day. And as much fun as it may be to look up what National Something Day it is a very important week this week. It is actually National Nurses Week. It began on Wednesday, the 6th, and it ends on May 12th, which happens to be Florence Nightingale's birthday. Um, she was a celebrated English social reformer, statistician, and the founder of modern nursing. She became well known while taking care of the wounded soldiers during the Crimean War. Nurses have been in the front line of this pandemic and have been hailed as superheroes. They're working in extraordinary circumstances, and although we've all seen the photos on PSAs and ads and everything, we rarely get to hear from them, like firsthand, really. Joan is a mother of three, and she is a perioperative nurse and manager of a group of nurses at a local hospital. Her son, Michael Banovic, is a sophomore student in the School of Common Media right here at MSU, and he sat down to talk with her just this last month. So here's Joan in her own words.
My name is Joan Banovic. I am the perioperative manager at Hackensack University Medical Center in Hackensack, New Jersey. So I have been at Hackensack. I'm probably, I think, 35 years in nursing, and I'm probably at Hackensack 32 or 36 years in nursing, and I've been at Hackensack 32 of those 36 years. And I think in all of my career, I know I've never witnessed any of this. So I have witnessed death, but I've never witnessed death like I'm witnessing it now. And never has anything been this devastating. My nurses are, they're perioperative nurses, and they're being deployed throughout the hospital. And many of them are going very willingly. Nursing school can't teach you the skills of a perioperative nurse. It actually takes me a year to train a nurse to be a perioperative nurse. So these are nurses that have different skill sets than the nurses on the floors, and they are actually going into this willingly. A lot of them are going in as what we are calling a buddy nurse, and a buddy nurse is somebody who watches the other nurses, and that nurse makes sure that their colleagues are, it's called donning and doffing, and that's properly putting on your PPE, which is personal protective equipment. So my nurses are watching their colleagues put on their PPE, make sure they take off their PPE properly in order not to infect themselves or to spread it throughout the unit. We're housing over 400 COVID patients. We've actually have discharged many, probably over 200 we have discharged home, but we've lost many people also. It's devastating all around. Everybody, like I said, we've never seen anything like this before. I'm sorry. It's emotional. It's definitely emotional to watch them go out. I have many staff members, many of my employees, my team members, who have converted to COVID positive, and this is because they are out there and they are taking care of the patients. That's hard as a manager to watch. I feel as if I'm sending my children out to war. So we've actually come together as a hospital, and that's lovely to see. We're really all in this together. And it's lovely to see the outpour from the community, thanking everybody. I don't think any of us feel like heroes. That to me, I was never that type. I do what I do. But like I said, I think the community outpour, we have a daycare center on our campus, and and the kids are outside, and they're drawing all over the sidewalks, and just hoping everyone stays safe. They have signs up on their windows, and it's a nice outreach. It's a nice outpouring. I don't think any of us consider ourselves heroes. It's what we do. Certainly what we do. Everyone is absolutely afraid. I'm afraid every day I go to work. I don't want to bring it home to my family. I want everyone to remain safe. So for me, I struggle because I see them. In the, and we're used to wearing the appropriate PPE. We're used to that. But this is far beyond what even we're accustomed to wearing on a daily basis. So I see them struggling, and that's definitely mentally exhausting just to see. And so that's mentally stressing. And I think when you come home, you look for a place of sanctuary. And some people aren't fortunate to get that, whether it's because their family members are cooped up, so everyone's on edge, everyone, I guess not everybody handles stress the same way. So sometimes it's, you look, like I said, you look for that peace, and hopefully you find it. So I think like anybody, you don't, initially you were like, okay, it's a flu. We face the flu annually. Flu seasons are getting longer and longer. We're vaccinating early September, October, when we're seeing the flu well into March and April. So for me, as a healthcare worker, it was the flu. I think vaccination is ever so important. They certainly do save lives. They're actually questioning some of my employees who have had the illness. They're interested in taking their bloods to see about antibodies and how to move forward in the development of a vaccine for this virus. Polio was devastating in its time, and we're having a resurgence of it, but I think that is due to the anti-vaxxers, unfortunately. It certainly is a personal choice, I guess, but I think when your personal choice affects others, I don't know how much of a personal choice it really should be. But I think seeing it around, and really what's going on, it's definitely more than a flu. And what makes it so bad is that it's so contagious. And we have nothing to fight it yet. You need to wash your hands constantly. You need to Purell your hands when you can't get to soap and water. So a lot of healthcare workers are noticing their hand, and we scrub every day, 2-3 times a day, and we're noticing that our hands are breaking down. So, your skin is your first line of defense. So you must, along with washing and Purelling, you gotta moisturize. Protect yourself. Keep your hands away from your face. Stay at home. Most importantly, stay at home. I think medicine learns. Medicine definitely learns. I think the greater lesson is going to be to the American people, to the families and that sort of thing. Just to, be grateful for what we do have. And because in a moment, it could be you or I. That's how infectious this disease is. And I think that may be the lesson. I think it's important just for everyone to realize it isn't a joke. All these years in healthcare as a nurse, when I tell you I've never seen anything like this in my life, I've never seen anything like this in my life, nor do I hope to ever see anything like this again. I know we will come out of it. When? I don't know. I can tell you they say we haven't hit our apex yet. which means the top of the curve, where we will stop seeing, stop doubling our numbers every single day. But I can tell you, once we stop that and we start to come down on that down slope, that decline in seeing so many people affected by this, we still can't stop what we're doing. So the social distancing will continue, the hand washing will continue. So I think you have to, stay strong. You have to stay safe. You can certainly go outside. It doesn't mean you can't go outside, but you can't go outside in large groups. So I think social distancing is good. I think we have to take it seriously. Wash your hands. Try and keep your hands away from your face. Try and keep yourself from going crazy. Keep yourself on a normal schedule. I think that's just healthy in general. Keep yourself on a schedule. It's hard, but we will come out of it. We definitely will come out of it. Definitely not as quickly as we all want to, but we will come out of it.
Yeah, that was just beautiful.
Yeah, incredible. Oh my goodness. I might start crying over here. But Michael Banovic joins us this morning. Joan is Michael's mom. Michael, thank you so much for sharing us your mom's story. This is your final project, and you chose to let her speak in her own words, which was super powerful to present this story. So that's awesome. It's incredible. And this is a picture of your mom. Oh, this is amazing. Oh, I love it. So obviously we saw, and all the audience members out there saw, that the raw and devastating emotion in your mom's voice was heart-wrenching, but we also heard a glimmers of hope. How's your mom doing personally during this?
Well, first of all, I want to mention that they actually have 1,200 people discharged from the hospital, and they're actually on the decline now. So it's fantastic. This was actually recorded back in April 4th, so we're on a huge decline now. Personally, though, my mom, she does have her ups, she has her downs. She's human. And it's just, she takes it one day at a time. You can see when she comes home that she's stressed out. And I like to think that we try our best for when she comes home. But it is hard because we're all still stuck together. We're family. We fight a lot. So it's just tough with having her come from work where it's a stressful environment to sometimes coming home where it's stressful again.
Yeah, I could totally understand that. Obviously we just talked about her personally, and we see that she has her ups and downs, but have you seen her attitude change about things just when she is home, about just like the whole situation, or about like maybe being just even around the house?
Just kind of the same. But at the same time, you kind of realize that she's also a little bit different in the sense that in the video she talked about, or in the audio she talked about how she's seen deaths before, but there's definitely been a lot more devastation during this time. So it's definitely taken a toll on her in the human being part of her. So I think it's hard for her as my mom, because I know her as a person, it's hard for her to separate her work from being a human and seeing people that are humans and losing that interaction, I guess, and separating the two. So.
Yeah. So with that being said, with all that, what are some precautions that you have been taking at home to stay safe? Is your family doing any extra steps to stay safe while self-isolating or anything like that?
So I guess like one of the biggest things me and my family do, when we go to like the grocery store, me and my mom at least, when we put on our mask, we'll hand sanitize our hands, go shopping. As soon as we get back to the car, we'll sanitize our hands, take off our mask. But you got to remember that you just touched your mask, which was dirty itself. So you got to hand sanitize again. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if a lot of people know that. They just might.
No, yeah, I don't think a lot of people do know that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But anything else that you guys kind of do you self-isolate from your mom at times too? Or do you?
No.
No.
we don't self-isolate from my mom. I think if we were to self-isolate from her,
Yeah.
that's just completely unfair to her.
Hmm.
It's unfair to her enough that uh, she has this feeling and possibly bring the disease home. So I think it's just unfair to ask that of her. I know I have a friend who's also has a healthcare worker as a mom, and they have the mom sleep in the garage, and to me, that's just not fair. I could just never see us doing that to her. So,
If you need to take a moment, completely take a moment. We get this is really tough, and I couldn't even imagine what you're going through. I don't think any of us could imagine that.
I completely agree with what you're saying. I think a lot of fighting this pandemic is mental and emotional, and I can't imagine, self-isolating from family at times like this, especially
Yeah.
in your situation. So if anything, I think making sure that you're not self-isolating from your mom is the best thing.
Yeah.
It's probably better, to be totally honest. You're a lot of nurses we've been seeing, and a lot of people on the front lines are being hailed as superheroes, and you know we're seeing all these pictures of masked superheroes, or superheroes wearing masks. um, but in the piece that you made, your mom says none of us feel like heroes. She says that it's her job, and while the gesture is certainly nice, I believe that hailing them as superheroes almost implies that they're bulletproof. Um, but they are people, um, just like everybody else. How do you think that this whole idea of pretty much the world hailing medical professionals as superheroes, how have you been seeing that kind of affect nurses, either through your mom or?
um, to me, I think it's unfair for people to finally see it that they're superheroes now.
Yeah.
I think they've always been superheroes. They're the people that go in every day, that they're doing brain surgery, heart surgery. They are always saving lives. But to me, I don't find it fair that people are finally see it now because it's so prevalent now. They're always doing this. They're always saving lives. So why aren't they heroes then? And I don't want it to be forgotten after this whole entire pandemic's over, that hero tag that they have is gone now.
Yeah.
Why? Because this isn't prevalent anymore?
I completely agree. I think they should all be considered heroes, and I think it's honestly sad that this is the first time that we're seeing people thinking of them as that. I think anybody that's putting on themselves on the line each day should be considered a hero.
Absolutely.
Because the bravery that takes is unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Unfortunately, in the middle of this pandemic, we've been seeing people who don't necessarily appreciate what nurses are doing, or people who aren't necessarily taking this thing at face value or seriously. We're seeing a lot of people seizing the opportunity to create these conspiracy theories about the virus, like online and in the news. I mean, I can't imagine how can you guys feel when you see things like this. I mean, I don't have anybody in my immediate family working in the medical field, and it just makes my blood boil. can't imagine how you guys must feel about it.
To me, it's frustrating. But there's always going to be people that go against what should be done because it's just how the world is.
Mm.
But you can't let those people get under your skin and get you frustrated. And I guess you can try and talk to them. Obviously not now. Unless it's over the phone or something, but you gotta just keep doing what you're doing. Because a little bit amount that you are doing is going to be helping. And it stinks that there are people that are going against it, that are like, because I've seen the protests against social distancing of people going in, and people have gotten sick from that too.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, it's frustrating, but you just got to keep on social distancing, washing your hands, wearing your mask, and hope for the best that it does go down despite these people with their actions that are putting a negative curve onto what we're moving towards and what we want.
Yeah.
Obviously this piece had a lot to do with your mom, but it obviously like visibly affected you as well. So I'm sure it took a lot of strength to put this piece together. How have you been doing? Like, what have you been doing to stay positive and make the most of this situation?
So for me, playing a lot of video games, trying to create a YouTube channel now. Hopefully coming up with some video ideas, learn After Effects, FaceTime my girlfriend all the time, Toriana. So those kind of things. It's very simple things, but they do make me happy. So yeah, it makes me appreciate more the little things in life, I guess, that I have. And I guess just gets me more excited for when things do get better. And I'll be able to really appreciate those kind of things, like going to school and seeing my friends all the time.
Yeah. I can't help but notice and I would like to point it out to everybody who's listening rather than watching live on Facebook or on YouTube afterwards, that behind you have a bunch of signs that are just positive messages, which I think this is it's just fantastic. And for everybody that we've been having on the Buzz for interviews or just to come on, we've been, at least I've been asking them this question that I feel is really important that everybody should ask themselves at least. And I'd love to hear your answer from it because I can tell you are trying to stay positive. What have you found during this pandemic? What positivity have you found in it? Like positive things that have come from it? Because out of all the negative things, I strongly believe that there are good things that are coming out of this, as small as they may seem. So what positivity do you think you've found out of this? I know it's a tough question.
So for me, I wasn't always that close with my family because I'd be at school and I might call them like once a week to once every 2 weeks, but now I see them every day. And I just was never really close to my family, I guess you could say. But I think through this, I've actually gotten closer to them because we're forced to be together. Unlike before college, even when I was in high school, I was able to go out with my friends. I had football after school. I was lifting after school. So it forces you to be with your family, and yeah, they drive me crazy a lot, but they also do a lot of good things for me too. So it's nice. I definitely appreciate that aspect, that I'm getting closer to my family through all this.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, that is awesome. But we want to kind of wrap this up on a positive note. We do want to tell our listeners and viewers that last night you were actually named a recipient of the Linda and George Hilsick Scholarship. So congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And you're just a sophomore and like already knocking this whole thing out of the park. So, like, how do we recruit you? Radio would be so happy to have you on your team. I think so. Like, I definitely need to be involved, like, on our team. I know it's specifically our general
we
manager,
gotta have
Annabella.
you back on the Morning Buzz.
I know our
man.
general manager, Annabella, extends this as our formal invitation to have you on anytime you want. And if you want to join a team, definitely come join us.
Yeah. And again, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your mom's story. It really is fantastic. And I know that if there was like a way to give more than 100% in the grading system, everybody who listened to that would probably give it to you. It's fantastic. You set the bar
incredible.
higher than I think I've seen anybody at your level and your age and stage in
and especially
college.
Taking it at a time where you think maybe people are not as creative, but taking it a moment and you could really make an impact on other people's lives, and we thank you for that.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
So I guess on behalf of mostly everybody here at WMSC, our thoughts and prayers will definitely be going out to you and your family, and thank you so much for coming on. Really, it's fantastic to see people like you and people like, especially like your mom, being honest about the whole thing and, you know, telling people how it really is rather than just the pictures we see on TV. Thank you so much for coming.
So much
in.
to you, your mom, and all the other frontline workers out there putting themselves on the line each day.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Michael Banovic, again,
I have a little loss for words for like this speech. It was just so incredible, and
feel free to stay around. Feel free to stick around in the background of the call to have kind of a first person view of the show. If you would like, we'd be happy to have you. But yeah, thank you very much for coming on, and we hope to have you again.
All right, appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
No problem. So with more and more people experiencing quarantine fatigue and, you know, starting to protest against quarantine, which personally, and again,
we don't need Ryan to get into a rant. Ryan's gonna get into a rant if we
rants
do.
with Ryan. We'll take a break for the day, but
yeah, please.
Yeah. You know, again, my personal opinion, it does not reflect the views of the station, just the views of myself.
Add him on Twitter.
If you want, angry tweet me. Go ahead. At Ryan the Trick. I barely use the thing anyways, so it'll probably just fall on deaf ears. But I think it's ridiculous that people are I understand quarantine fatigue to a certain degree. I do not understand people protesting against quarantine. And
I think we also need to see right here, like, we just got a firsthand witness of how it's affecting a person and a family, and just how it really is truly, there are people dying each day. And we just saw that. We heard it from someone, that how it's affecting someone. So realize staying in the house is nothing.
Yeah.
It's really nothing.
Compared to what some people are doing every day, staying at home and, you know, whatever
watching
you
Netflix
call
is
watching
like...
Netflix, or, you know, obeying your government, you know, whatever your view is on it, it's not that bad. And you certainly should not be freaking out like some people are. In one specific instance, for our first story, on Wednesday evening, a woman down I don't know why I'm laughing at this. I'm laughing at how ridiculous people are. A woman down in Oklahoma City was asked / forced to leave a McDonald's because their dining area was closed and she wasn't wearing a face mask and whatever. She was complaining that she couldn't, you know, whatever. It's against my rights, et cetera, et cetera. We see it all on TV all the time. Not only did she cause a scene, but she came back and she opened fire with a firearm on 3 McDonald's employees. What on earth is wrong with you people? I got nothing.
Like, I mean, It's a McDonald's.
It's a McDonald's.
Like these poor people. Like,
look, I am a huge fan of just a Big Mac, and like
I hate McDonald's, so I'll be
well,
the.
Yeah,
I'll be
not a fan.
No, I'm not a fan. But like the point at the end of the day is like
I can't
it's
imagine shooting someone
McDonald's.
over a Big Mac. Yeah, like I love the Big Mac. Don't get me wrong, but I won't shoot somebody over a Big Mac. Like, what? What?
And
How did-
Ryan, didn't you say she left and came back with the firearm?
Yes. So,
So it's
she
not
was
like she was
removed
still
from the
angry.
McDonald's, and she
Ridiculous.
was so just heated that she came back. I'll she came back with a handgun a certain amount of time later and fired 3 shots on 3 McDonald's employees. One round hit an employee in the arm, and the other 2 employees were stuck by shrapnel. So, thankfully nobody was gravely injured.
Yeah, I
or
just don't know
seriously
what it would
injured.
be like. Like we see people on the like as an essential worker, it's scary to go in any day, and then to see that someone's coming back with like a firearm to hurt
I
them when they're
don't
just trying to get their work done.
Yeah, so here's the thing, right? I feel like obviously when we say frontline, workers, we're not just talking about nurses. I say we as in the news, and television, advertisements, PSAs, whatever.
Media, everything.
We're not, in media. We're not just talking about the nurses and the doctors, although they are like pretty much the spearheads of this.
Yeah.
We're also talking about people who work in fast food because they have to pay their rent,
And it's
I-
food, so it's technically essential.
Exactly,
So-
and it's considered an essential service. So I personally have friends who work in the fast food industry, and they'll come, they'll get on their computer at the end of the day, and we'll be talking online, and they're just like, yeah, my job has been like 1,000 times more stressful than it normally is, because not only am I afraid of, getting COVID from some random dude who wants a burger in the middle of the pandemic, but, people are also just being words I can't say on air to us for no reason.
It takes a lot of energy to work
It
during
does.
this. It really does. And these people are definitely not getting any support or help from it when they're being treated horribly.
Yeah. And, honest, and I guess kind of moving to like a slightly non-COVID like related note, but just in general, I can't imagine physically harming somebody over food. Back when the Popeyes chicken sandwich thing happened, there was a story, and I covered it because it is still to this day one of my favorite news stories for some reason. Some guy stabbed a guy who cut the line at a Popeyes
Are you serious?
during like the whole original chicken sandwich hype.
Do you remember?
I cannot imagine.
Hey Ryan, do you remember like when like a week ago you said to me, or like 2 weeks ago, you're like, humans are smart. We're supposed to be smart.
Look, all right, that was like 2 weeks ago, and I still had a little bit of faith left in humanity, but it's dwindling by the minute. Okay, all I have left are like the awesome people, who are still going out there and working, and nurses and police officers and everybody who is working.
That's where I have faith.
They are
I have
good
I have
people.
no faith in the people that are staying home in quarantine. That's where I don't have the faith.
I have no faith in the people like the woman who's shooting McDonald's workers because she couldn't eat her McNuggets in the dining area.
Like,
There's
why
a
do you
whole
wanna,
world.
Why do you want to sit in the McDonald's anyway? Just go
I don't-
outside.
I can't
The
imagine
air
the
is
last
so, like-
time I even ate at a McDonald's.
And don't most places still have drive-through opens?
Yeah, they do.
So
It's open.
it's not like she was banned from getting food. She just couldn't sit
She didn't
there.
want to. She didn't want to. She wanted to sit in the dining area.
Why? It's
I-
not exactly that nice.
No, it's not. Like, I'm sorry, any McDonald's employees or administration that may be watching, but nobody wants to sit down at a McDonald's.
It's like, can you imagine if she like got upset like that the ball pit wasn't open or something like?
Oh my
the
gosh.
slide?
It's It's ridiculous.
Because let's talk
cannot
about that. That's not
understand
going to be a
people.
place anybody's going to want to go right after this. Is like the ball pit of the McDonald's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen those anymore. Like the
There is some of
McDonald's
them.
play places. I haven't even seen any.
There's
of them
one by
open
my
anymore.
house that still has one.
Maybe that's why nobody wants to sit and eat at a McDonald's anymore. Is because
Because
they got
there's
rid of all the play places.
Well,
There's-
I haven't
There's
seen
a
That's
Burger
just
King
my
with mine
either.
near me too that has the play place.
I just it blows my mind. Like, look, I'm all about food. Okay, so much so that I certainly need to start working out more than I currently
Wait,
am.
but the question is, did you see if she got arrested or something? Did
Oh
something
no,
happen?
yeah, she got arrested.
Definitely,
Okay,
yeah.
I was just making sure. Like,
No worries. This woman did not just shoot McDonald's employees and not get arrested. It says
But we do wanna note
she
that
is in
she wasn't wearing-
custody on charges of assault and battery.
and she was not wearing a mask during this process either, so she wasn't even following
Yeah.
protocol to begin with.
Exactly. So even if you were wearing a mask, people just need to understand, and we'll kind of finish with this. As much as you may be, I don't want to say full of yourself, but for lack of a better expression, as
For
full of
lack.
yourself as you may be, as awesome and privileged as you think you may be, it is not a constitutional right to sit down at a restaurant.
No.
I see these things on the news all the time because we have to report them. And it blows my mind that people think it is a constitutional right to sit down at a restaurant. No, incorrect. Please go read the Constitution if you have the intelligence to actually read. I don't know about half the people protesting, but anyways, that's just
So-
my 2 cents on the
To
subject.
talk about more crazy things that are happening during the quarantine.
But positive things on this, well, maybe we'll
is
talk
it
about
positive?
it.
I was gonna say,
I
like,
don't
so.
know.
So
we'll
with
see.
the coronavirus putting a hold on just about everything, and we all know that it's everything, even getting your McDonald's.
Yeah.
Thousands of teens in Georgia have been lucky enough to still get their driver's licenses without taking the dreaded road test. Georgia isn't the only state waiving road tests either. Wisconsin announced later last week that they will start doing the same for 16 to 17-year-olds starting Monday. In order to waive taking the road test, teen drivers must have their learner's permit for a year and a day without any violations and need to have completed at least 40 hours of supervised driving. Okay.
Yeah. This is
This is an outrage.
I
I'm 100% against it.
yeah.
Well, okay, and so they said 20,000 people have already gotten their license, by the
Yeah,
way.
so
So
this-
20,000 people are on the road now.
Yes.
That maybe
20
shouldn't be.
Exactly. So because of the pandemic, basically these like road tests are being postponed or canceled or whatever. You just can't take them. A lot of people were saying like, "Hey, how the heck are we supposed to get our license?" Because if it's been a while since you got your license or you just don't know, a lot of times, you get your permit, and I believe you get your permit for about a year.
Yeah.
But if you don't get your driver's license, like your official license,
Yeah,
within a
but-
certain amount of time,
But here's
your
the
permit
thing,
can
like
expire,
it's
right?
different there, I think,
Right.
because like in New Jersey, I know personally when I got my license, I had a permit beforehand, but the permit didn't mean I could drive. It just
yeah,
meant
it's
I had
drive
to
like
be
supervised, right?
yeah,
Yeah, drive
supervised, but
with
it's not
at
even
least-
it's not
Yeah.
even really that much. Yeah, it is, but like you're not really supposed to go out on the road and make road trips with a permit. You're supposed to
Yeah.
just like kind of just drive
Casual
around your
driving.
neighborhood, like and things like that. But like, all right, I don't know. How did you guys do on your road test? Because I know personally, I had to take mine twice. The first
I
time,
Killed it on my road test. I
Wow,
am
you know
so
what?
proud
You
to
know
say
That
it.
was great. Perfect. Well,
Kyle, what?
not perfect, but I passed.
I
There you
failed
go.
the first time, and I was devastated because I took it on my birthday. I failed. They made me. I don't know where you guys take yours, or
Mm.
even Kyle, because you live in Central Jersey. I had to do. You have to do the parallel parking first. My car
Yeah.
went right up on the curb.
Oh.
Yeah, and then so I failed automatically because they do that first, so you don't have to even stay and do the rest of it and just
Yep.
watch your misery. So I failed first time round, and then what else did I do? I retook it like I think 2 months later because there was such a waiting period, and then I passed. But I still really don't like parallel parking that much. Like I do it, but I don't really like. No one likes it. But can you imagine, like, okay, so I learned my lesson. I failed the first time, whatever. But like, can you imagine people just like don't even know how to maybe drive, and they're like, because a lot of people don't. Like, I know personally, my mom liked to give me some time in the car to try to drive. But can you imagine if some of these parents were like, "Oh, I don't want you driving," and then they just automatically got their license without anything?
Yeah, well, I mean, they have to have supervised driving, and I believe
Yeah, but who's
Wisconsin
mandating
is the
Who's mandating
supervised
that?
time has to be with a parent specifically. So I guess to play devil's advocate, I kind of see where they're coming from, and
But
it
like
does
again,
seem
who's
somewhat
mandating
reasonable.
that? Because you could just
Yeah,
forge
exactly.
someone's signature, and you could
There's
be like,
also
"All right."
there's also that one who's mandating it, and two, the part that kind of worries me, I guess, is there are plenty of adult human beings
That can't
with
drive?
licenses who
Yeah.
cannot drive at all.
That was my main issue
mean,
on this.
Like, not even opinion, not even as an opinion, just objectively speaking, I have seen adults run red lights because they are on their phones. I do not understand it. So the whole idea of supervised driving, look, not to say every parent is a terrible driver, because that's certainly not the case. My dad's a fantastic driver. However, I do know some people whose parents are, to put it lightly, less than stellar behind the wheel.
So, just a tip: don't go to Georgia anytime soon. I guess then.
I know it's a joke.
Yeah, I guess.
I know people say it as a joke anytime a young person gets their new license, but this time I'm actually staying off the road.
Oh yeah,
Kyle,
exactly.
Kyle, what do you think? What else do you think about this situation? Like, how would you react if you got your license without taking a test?
I would feel dishonest, so I wouldn't accept it. But that's just me. I would physically wait until I took a physical driver's test to know if I was good enough to go out. Yeah. I know a lot of these children are just waiting to drive and waiting. People hate for some reason, but I think they are rushing too much into this, and this is not something you can rush into. This is a very dangerous thing, despite it being a mainstream thing. It still can be very deadly and not something to mess around with.
I do get the concern of kids being like, oh, I waited all these years and then this pandemic came and you're going to tell me I can't graduate high school, I can't go to prom, and I can't get my driver's license.
Yeah, now I can't get my license.
That's just, it just blows. And so I get what they're trying to do, but at the same time, graduation and prom typically can't hurt anybody. So, I mean, with the rare instances of maybe people falling and other things that I'm not going to get into, but typically nothing goes wrong with those things. And then when you get in a car, you could risk your life and other people's lives.
Yeah.
And it's just not the same as throwing a graduation party.
Yeah.
Also, with quarantine, you have your license. Where do you go then?
Yeah, I know. I guess the only thing is you could drive around, but also Georgia, I think, is one of those states that has opened a lot more of those places, I think.
Georgia did recently, I believe, open back up. So, I mean, maybe that's a little bit more of a push for these kids to get their licenses. But also, that being said, if the state is opening back up or starting to open back up, why
can't they just take their test, right?
Yeah, why not begin by opening up, the DMV?
Well, what I would say is too.
Now, granted, Georgia isn't as crazy on the road as New Jersey. I mean, it's always a joke in New Jersey, if you're not from here, that we think New York are terrible drivers. New York think that we're terrible drivers, and the rest of the country hate both of our drivers. So, it's maybe more aggressive here than possibly in Georgia. I'm not from Georgia, so I don't know. But
I don't know where their driving centers are and how they run them and things, but couldn't you if you, I know the course I did, there's a course and there's an actual you can go on the streets. So but if you had a course, can't you just watch from outside the car for the most part? If they parallel park right, you could see that. And if they don't, you drive around on a little course and you could technically watch from not being in the car. I know it's about making sure they're doing the right things too, but I'd feel more safe just even watching them drive around on a course outside of a car than I would.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, part of it is probably the fact that they need to be inside the car. So when I was
Yeah.
first learning to drive, because having years and years of watching my dad make turns with just one hand on the steering wheel, when I first started learning
You
to
just
drive,
automatically did that?
Yeah, I did that
And
naturally.
you deducted points.
And
I'm
well,
sure.
the guy who was teaching me to drive was like, "That was a perfect turn. If you do that on the test, they will fail you." And I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "You got to do it with two hands,
Yeah.
the whole thing."
Yeah.
So I think the reason is, they do want to see people do it in a very specific way. But then again, on the other hand, if they're waiving it and all they need is 40 hours of supervised driving from their
They could
parent,
do whatever they want.
yeah, they could be picking up bad habits. Well, bad, I say bad in air quotes, bad habits from whoever they're being
I feel
supervised
like then
by.
there's just no rules anymore. Like, what if I just like allow a 10-year-old to get their license and it's just like, okay, goodbye.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Exactly.
Let's just like break all the rules now. But anyway, so a thing I found last night.
This was
like,
awesome. You
this is-
messaged me at like 9:00 or something last night with this.
I love this. So I'm a huge Simpsons fan, and everybody knows the Simpsons have been predicting a lot of the future. They predicted apparently like 9/11, they predicted Trump in office, and they predicted like a lot of other major events that happened in our history. So last night, my mom was on the internet circling around on like whatever, Facebook, Google, and she's like, Amanda, apparently there was a Simpsons episode where they talked about the coronavirus and also the bees. The bee episode. It's an episode from 1993. And also, I'll talk about this point after, but yeah, the main point of this episode was a flu epidemic kind of thing hit Springfield.
Yeah,
and we have
a clip of
we
the
have a little clip
episode
for
right
you.
here.
We need a cure! We need a cure!
Why, the only cure is bed rest. Anything I give you would only be a placebo.
Where do we get these placebos?
Maybe there's some in this truck. I'm cured. I mean, ouch.
We need a cure! We need a cure!
Oh goodness.
There was also another video that it was a clip in the article I originally found, and they talked about I'm trying to think of what it was. They had like it was just showing the flu going around on the sides of the streets. It was like a joke that it was just like it was floating in the air, and because like the flu could be airborne, any flu or even this virus could be airborne. So there was even a scene where Chief Wiggum takes out a gun and starts shooting at the virus. And I was like, why does this sound like literally something that someone has already tried to think of or do?
Yeah,
So it was
it's
just kind of
crazy
funny.
because the whole idea is like exactly like to the T how like coronavirus was spreading.
Yeah.
And this came, when did this episode air? 1993? Like, I mean, props to The Simpsons for apparently being able to tell the future, but
I know, right? This is like not the first time too. If it was the first time, I'd be like, okay, that's just like a coincidence. But there's like videos on how there's like 20 different times The Simpsons predicted the future. And it would be like years and years before something would happen. So it wasn't like a month or so where people were like, that could happen. Like it was like years. 1993 and it is 2020. Like that.
That's like, my math may be off, but I think that's like 27
years.
It's over 20 years, and that's the big thing. It's over 20 years, and like who could predict over 20 years from...
It has happened too much at this point to even be looked at as a coincidence.
And
with their track record, it's
the thing that's funny too is like, a lot of times like in a lot of media we consume, it's like people like predict things like in the future we'll have flying cars, and in the future we'll have this and we'll have that. But like they just are so simple. They're like, you're gonna have a virus and it's gonna have like bees. And I mean, like they didn't say we were gonna have, it was just it's funny that in this like made up worlds they had it, and then like over 20 something years later we get it.
Yeah, I think the Simpsons is, I mean, obviously they can't predict the future, but I think it is crazy how accurate or how accurately they can just guess like human behavior.
Yeah.
and social psychology of like, oh, if an airborne virus became really prevalent, this is probably how it would spread. Let's make an episode out of it.
Here's the episode a little more clip Annabelle found for us.
Hey, Dad, this came for you in the mail. Woohoo!
Mother, get an extra.
That was the
ready.
the
What
virus.
you and you juicer.
But what's funny too is the coronavirus is the
Lord.
green and red too, and if they depicted that too.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
So for those of you who can't see, there just people are giving each other boxes and whatnot, and every time somebody opens a box, the virus comes out. It's flying down the street, crossing in hot dog stands, and oh, there's what you're talking about. He's shooting it.
I thought it was so funny. But what I also wanted to mention too is maybe it wasn't that article and it was another article, but they did talk about how this episode also kind of predicted in a sense. Like, I don't think it's exactly, because it's definitely not exactly, I've seen the scene, but they kind of said it predicted Kobe Bryant's death in a sense too, which I thought was really weird. Because I'm like, it's definitely wasn't like anything similar, but it was a guy in a helicopter and it was just kind of like something with that. And I was just like,
yeah, that might be
like,
closer to coincidence.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and so like obviously that's weird because it was just a reporter, but it was just saying like how they were just in a helicopter and he got like sick on the helicopter or something, and people were like kind of speculating at that too. But like this one's obviously more accurate, but I thought that was interesting too. That they
I really think it's fascinating how they can just predict. It really is just predicting human behavior. Obviously, if you don't, for those of you who believe people can tell the future, sure, believe that The Simpsons can tell the future, but from someone who's used to be a psychology major, that's
honestly,
like perfectly predicting human behavior, which is hilarious to me.
Right.
I personally don't know like what the backgrounds of are the writers like that wrote The Simpsons, but they could have studied things like psychology and things like that as well as like writing, and it's like it could just show in your writing a little bit of like how I have an interest in this, like, and it comes across in a sense.
As ridiculous as some of the Simpsons like plot lines or like situations they get into are, a lot of them play out somewhat realistically sometimes. They really do like nail how people would react to stuff, even if they emphasize it a little bit. They really do nail how like stuff would happen.
And we did want to shout out the fact that one of the supervising producers at on The Simpsons is actually an MSU graduate, and our audio suite is named after him, Michael Price. So pretty cool fact.
Nice.
What do you want to say, Kyle? I'm sorry, I kept cutting you off.
I don't know how long ago it was in the conversation, but I was going to say there's a difference between influence and prediction. Like some of the things they could predicted, somebody could have saw and said, "Oh, I'm going to do that." Stuff like Killer Bees, though. Nobody's gonna go and say I'm gonna bring.
But I guess like in a sense, people always just really didn't like bees. So I feel like it's like they're like, can you imagine if like Killer Bees came to like Springfield? That would be cool. And then it's like,
that'd be crazy. And then like 27 years later, they're like, hey, murder hornets. Anyways.
Yeah. But anyway, it's a fun story. If you want to look more about the episode, it was from 1993 and it's called Margin Chains. So
and you can find and you can also find the article on Good Morning America. Yeah. But ending on the ridiculousness that is The Simpsons, we will sadly have to wrap the show as it is coming up on the top of the hour, 10 o'clock here at 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair, New Jersey. Thank you so much for joining us today. For everybody live on Facebook and people joining us on terrestrial and on iHeartRadio, be sure to stay tuned. The next show is Back to the Future with Gene Sawyer and Mike Mitch. I'm horrible at pronouncing names, but I do know one thing. The Back to the Future show is personally one of my favorite shows here on WMSC. It's a music show run by alumni, so be sure to stay tuned.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next week, every weekday from 9 to 10. I've been Ryan Trick.
And I've been Amanda Marino.
And I'm Kyle Pepitone.
We'll see you guys next time.